Carothers here with the new and improved Future Stars Friday forecast. Loving the new look. I've got Caitlin producing for me from Grand Slam Social. Thank you so much. And I have a very exciting guest for anybody who is a petty geek like me, for anybody who loves to try to make some money playing 2-year-olds. This show, you will definitely want to tune in because we're going to be highlighting some 2-year-olds who are going to be making headlines in 2020. But before we get to them, we're going to talk about some stars of the past connected with this guest. We're talking about Triple Crown champion Justify. And the thing that's so cool is even reaching the pinnacle of the sport and winning such a storied achievement that only 12 other horses had previously done. My guest, SF Bloodstock's Tom Ryan, he's still hungry for more. And dear goodness, you got Charlatan going as a Kentucky Derby hopeful here in 2020. So let's bring him in. Let's talk about Justify first, because dear goodness, you've been around horses for a very long time at this point. You graduated the Irish National Stud, 19 years old. You jet set it around the world. You've been around some of the best. Now, you come along in 2018 with Justify, who in 111 days, we'll never see this replicated again. Not only does he break the curse of Apollo and winning the Kentucky Derby with no start at 2 years old, but he wins the Triple Crown. And in such impressive fashion, he beats your champion Juvenile in Good Magic. He's against adversity weather-wise, and people doubted him at the 1.5-mile distance at Belmont, but boy, did he ever come through wiring the field. What was that whole trip like for you?
Oh, amazing. It almost happened too fast. You know, he was a tremendous horse, incredible talent, but it happened just like that, and he was there and he was gone. But he just had such confidence every time you went to the races with him that he was going to show up, and Bob gave you confidence. Everything about this horse gave you confidence. He just, you know, his tolerance was so high and his ability was so great. It was going to be very hard to slow him down.
Well, I mean, here you have a 6-race career, undefeated in all 6 of those starts. You begin his career at Santa Anita in a main special weight. He then wins an allowance onto the Santa Anita Derby, wins the Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont. And we're now seeing shades of Justify in Charlatan, and just in terms of this horse coming out 3 years old and putting in such impressive performances, he also being undefeated. But the thing about Justify also, what we need to discuss is just the fact that what it takes for a horse like this to get through a crucible like the Triple Crown gauntlet, and how he did it, again, in such impressive fashion and with that pedigree as well. Here is a son of Scat Daddy. And again, people were doubting the ability to go long in the Belmont. You probably had no concerns.
No, we really didn't. I think that's one of those horses that he was so adaptable. He has such a good mind. He's just so brilliant. I don't think distance mattered. I don't think surface would have mattered. I think this horse could have excelled in the surface if it had been the case.
That's very true. Scat Daddy's so versatile.
Yeah. He was really the complete package. He was big, brilliant, beautiful, sound, and it's incredible to watch his foals hit the ground now.
Yes, at Coolmore.
Yeah, which is amazing. Those guys invested a lot of money in this opportunity, and I have a very good feeling they're going to get
definitely. So with Justify,
3/4 went in 1 minute 13.21 seconds, halfway home in the Belmont, and then comes tenfold on the inside of Blended Citizen. Hofberg is drafting in behind horses, 6 lengths off the lead. Free Drop Billy and Gronkowski, the last of them all. And Mike Smith and Justify make their run into the far turn. They've got a 2-length lead. Restoring Hope is put to a ride as Vino Rosso begins to rev it up on the outside. Bravazzo is down toward the rail. They've run a mile in 1:38.09 seconds. Justify is the leader, but it's just a half-length advantage here. Vino Rosso comes under a ride. Mike Smith has not asked Justify to go just yet. Justify a length lead here as they come to the top of the stretch. Vino Rosso is second. Hofberg comes on the scene, and Gronkowski has cut the corner, and they're into the stretch. And Justify comes roaring home to a raucous Belmont Park with 1 furlong to run. Gronkowski and Hofberg trying to run him down. Vino Rosso is fourth, a 16th to go. Justify is still there. Justify from Gronkowski. He's just perfect, and now he's just immortal. Justify is the 13th Triple Crown winner. Gronkowski was second. Hofberg.
Hey.
Hey, so sorry. I lost Wi-Fi connection myself, but I think our viewers were being treated still to an amazing performance from Justify.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it again myself.
What is it like for you watching the replays?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, like that day we were with a large crowd of people and we found ourselves inside, and I somehow I regret that we didn't position ourselves outdoors. You know, the atmosphere might have even been greater, but it was very emotional, and it was wonderful. Loved everything about it, as did everyone attached to the horse. It was such a large group of people that got to enjoy that day and feel ownership in that horse. It was just made it very special.
Now, I love, even prior to the Belmont, there were such great photographs that you had posted ahead of the Preakness, or after the Preakness, rather. I mean, your wife, Katie, who's a veterinarian, by the way, so beauty and brains. And then you have this, it's so cute, this photograph of your son, Nolan, wrapped up in the saddle blanket.
Yeah. When we came home that night, we were very proud, and Nolan, he slept that night in that blanket. And I remember I called Elliot Walden the next morning and said, where do I need to leave this blanket? And he said, you know what? He said, it's yours, keep it. So we still have it, and we always will.
Oh my gosh, what a memory. How are your boys? You have 2 boys. They're very, very young, but do they have an idea of track culture yet and being around the horses?
I think they have a little idea, because at the top of the stairs on either banisters, there's the Justify blanket and the Charlatan blanket. And Nolan tells me each night, that's Justified, that's Charlatan. Oh. So they know.
That's adorable. I love that. So like we're talking about, the next generation will Justify, as you were saying before I lost connection. He's over there at Coolmore. The first foals are hitting the ground. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have any yourself?
We don't have foals. We have a mare in full term this year. We have a mare called Pooland.
Yes.
She's a grade 1 winner herself. She had an Accelerate this year, and she's in full to Justify right now. You know, Justify, we sold mares in full tomb last year. We sold a mare in full tomb last year for 800,000.
Wow.
He was a very, he's a very big ticket horse last year. We struggled to buy mares in full tomb. So, we'll try again this year. And look, he's an amazing horse, and it's not at all surprising that he's got amazing foals.
No, I love the pedigree, and it made sense with Coolmore having lost Scat Daddy, having Justified be the heir apparent. And then, like I was saying before, I got caught up by the Wi-Fi. He's out of a Ghost Zapper mare. Ghost Zapper, talk about versatility there in terms of, he could have gone in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He could have gone in the Breeders' Cup Mile. He probably could have gone the Mile as well. But he ended up setting a record in the 2004 Classic. And just to have that type of versatile speed is so exciting. So it's great to see him in the mix there. And then I believe, if I recall off the top of my head, Justify second dam is by Pulpit. So you get the AP Indy factor in as well.
Lots of brilliance tied in there, and it all came out. It was the perfect combination. And the Gunters did an incredible job raising the horse, obviously. And they're very thoughtful breeders. They put a lot of effort into their matings, and they're well deserved.
Well, fun fact for those out there, the Gunters also bred this past year's Breeders' Cup Classic champion, Vino Rosso. And they grew up in the same field together.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool there. Now, as I was saying, a lot of people are comparing Justify's race career with now Charlatan. And Charlatan, he maintained his perfect record, winning the Arkansas Derby, the first division of it, just recently. And, the thing with this horse, he has so much talent, so much ability, that I don't know, what did we learn from this race? Simply because he was so overmatched his rivals here.
Yeah, look, I think he cramped him. So he continues to confirm how good he is. That's he's, if you want to go with him early, go ahead and try. But not many horses can float along in 22 and 44 like he does.
Exactly.
and he can finish his races. Like, this horse has given us no reason to believe he won't be able to stay, but his brilliant speed kills, right? So
Yeah.
he's able to burn off just about anything. And, you know, he's very exciting. I don't know what else to say about him, but he's a spectacular physical. He's out of a quite American mare, which I think it gives him more dimension than maybe just Spice Town. And, you know, you even talk about Spice Town. He's had a Gold Cup winner. He's had a Travers winner. Spice Town is very, very versatile himself. And
yes.
the great thing about Spice Towns that we all know is they're very sound, and they do improve with time as well. You know, there's this kind of notion that Spice Towns are very fast, so they should be very early. That's not really right.
No.
You know, it's just speed and precocity are two different things.
Agreed.
But this horse, he would have been ready to run it too. He had a little bit of a setback in November. We dealt with that and brought him back, and he's perfect. And look, he was. We went over him with a fine-tooth comb recently because of a recent transaction, as you know.
Yes.
He is. He's a model citizen. He's perfect.
Well, as you're talking about, he is going to be standing at Hill and Dale Farm. And already, yes, it's early into his career, but he has that sire pedigree. Being, again, by Speightstown, we see the success that Munnings is having. We're excited about Speightster over there at Windstar as well. But Munnings at Coolmore. But yeah, with not only is he by Speightstown, who's 2004's champion sprinter, won the Breeders' Cup Sprint of that year, but he's out of authenticity. And we know her race record. I mean, this is a mare who Grade 2 winner, La Troyenne, multiple Grade 1 place. She was third in the Breeders' Cup Distaff of 2013, I believe it was. No shame there. It was behind Beholder. But it's a great pedigree. She's already produced another stakes winner in Hanalei Moon. So you must have felt like there was no question once he showed what he had on track that you were going to have offers made.
Yeah. People now see the Stone Street brand as, you know, a real mark of excellence. And
oh yeah, we should mention born and raised there at Stone Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people talk about pedigrees, they've gone out, they've handpicked these mares. They've really dedicated a lot of time and money, a lot of resources to land and to the stallions that they supported these mares with to produce these kind of horses. He's not an accident. He was carefully planned, and he was well raised, and we had to fight for him in the sales room.
Well, thank goodness you got him. And just from a Petit Geek's perspective, I also get a kick out of the fact that if you go way on back, this is the female family line that traces to Betty Durr, and we've got multiple Kentucky Derby champions coming out of there, including Iron Liege, Swaps, and California Chrome.
There we go.
So there you go. Again, you got to be excited. You have another Kentucky Derby hopeful also in Authentic, not to be confused with authenticity, but Authentic. And this is a son of Into Mischief. I say it all the time, but in case you haven't heard, because you live under a rock, Into Mischief is a half-brother to Beholder and Mendelssohn. Now, and he's just, the sire power he brings to the table has been exceptional. I mean, there's no question. You guys had Audible run third in the Derby, same year as Justify. So he's by Into Mischief. He's out of Flawless by Mr. Greeley. This was a $350,000 yearling. Second down by Wild Again, who won the inaugural Breeders' Cup Classic. And this family's got multiple Grade 1 winners in it, as well as including 7th Street, won the Apple Blossom. You've got American Gal, she won the Longines Test, and a fan favorite in Rinaldo the Wizard.
Yes.
So it's a fun black type pedigree. And so he's undefeated as well. We last saw him in the San Felipe Stakes. So how's he been doing?
He's doing great. More about the pedigree. He's out of a mare called Flawless. Flawless was a brilliant mare herself.
Yes.
She only ran 2 times, but I believe she might have been a rising star in her first start. She ran an 89 and a 92 Beyer, and unfortunately broke down, but she was a genuine black type mare. But if you look at his pedigree, when we purchased him, it was two blank dams, but we had lots of confidence that there was brilliance abound in that pedigree. And he was actually the last colt we bought that year. He was in book 3, and he was the very last colt we bid on and the last colt we bought.
Well, what's it like having, two hopefuls with the same trainer, both undefeated right now? It's like picking your children, right?
Yeah, it's tough, and they're hard to compare. They're two very special colts, and they're hard to compare because they're very different. Also, they're Authentic is probably 16'2". He's a big, long. He's got a great kind of hind quarter to him and hind leg, but he's just starting to really flourish now. He turned 3 on the 5th of May, so he was a very late foal, and he's really coming into his own. He breezes on Sunday. I spoke to Bob this afternoon. He's very happy with him. We kind of gave him 2 quiet weeks when things shut down in California.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get our bearings and figure out where we were going to target. Santa Anita Derby was our early target, and then it disappeared, and now we're back to Santa Anita Derby. Hopefully that sticks. If it doesn't, there's nobody like Baffert to call an audible and reposition. So.
Well, we are hoping that June 6th will be the Santa Anita Derby's date, and we are looking forward to seeing how he does in that first start back since the San Felipe. Now, we need to get an update on another horse that we were following last year, and whether or not what you foresee for him, and that's 8 Rings. There was so much hope for this horse. I mean, here's a son of Empire Maker coming out, winning at 5.5 furlongs, sprinting by 6 1/4 lengths.
Yeah.
And so then he goes and he has that unfortunate situation happen in the Run Happy Del Mar Futurity, loses the jockey. Thank God nobody was hurt. Comes back, wins the American Pharoah Stakes. And then we had such hopes for him in the TBG Breeders Cup Juvenile. What did you make of that? And what did you make of his first start back, which was a 5th place finish in the Bachelor Stakes back on the 25th of April?
Yeah, look, I personally believe he should have gone into the Juvenile unbeaten. He should have been a 2-time Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old. It was unfortunate that trading fell off that day, or came off, however you want to put it. He's a beautiful horse. He definitely has genuine talent and brilliance about him. It's, we possibly should have waited, like Bob, we ran him going 6 at Oaklawn because there was nowhere else to go, really.
Yeah.
And, we had Charlatan going to the other spot, and Nadal was pointing to Arkansas as well. We didn't know if the races were going to split. It was just hard to make a call at the time. The horse was really, we felt, doing well, and we probably in some ways tried to put a square peg in a round hole. The horse needs to go long on the front, and that's his game. And anyway, it's
that was a long layoff too. From a long layoff.
Bob has confidence in the horse. He showed his brilliance as a 2-year-old. We have confidence in Bob. So
right, and Bob we trust, right? And so another horse that I have a soft spot for, I gotta tell you, is Breeders' Cup champion, Eclipse champion, 2-year-old Game Winner.
Yeah.
So in 2018, he lived up to those looks of his, really flashy son of Candy Ride. Yeah. And then he's out of Indian Giving by AP Indy. Thing about Indian Giving, she herself is a daughter of Fleet Indian, who was a champion older mare. Now, Game Winner, and we're watching the replay right now.
And Knicks Go is in front as they turn for home. Knicks Go on top, trying to pull off another upset here. Into the final furlong with Game Winner running at him on the outside. The two of them into the final furlong, and they bump there. Game Winner on the outside takes the lead. On the inside, it's Knicks Go, who fights on but will be second best as they come down to the line. He doesn't know how to lose. He's Game Winner in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Knicks Go is second.
You gotta love the heart he showed in there. He took some abuse and kept on fighting.
Yeah, look, I see Candy Ride like I see Spice Sound. Just they give so much,
Yes.
Like they're really two very, very prolific sires, and we love Game Winner. Any colt that can put 3 Grade 1s together in a season is, I don't know how you don't like him.
No, you got it.
Yeah, physically he's going to match a lot of mares. He's 16 and a half hands high, but he's strong. He's got great forearms and quarters on him, and
yeah,
he's going to be a real commercial dream.
Well, I saw him ahead of the Breeders' Cup, and it was sort of that moment, almost like a Disney cartoon, like Bambi, when there's the coronated prince. He was standing there. He just had his bath, and he looked all regal, and the birds were flying overhead as the sun was still on its ascent. It was really, there was a moment. I still have the photos from that day, and he just struck me as so majestic. And that pedigree, like you're talking about, Candy Ride, again, out of Indian Giving by AP Indy. Indian Giving herself unraced, but a daughter of Fleet Indian, who was 2006's champion older mare of that year. You've got to love that pedigree. And we last saw him winning the Los Alamitos Derby. So do you know when he's going to be starting back?
I asked the question last week. He's probably a month off. So,
okay.
So he's definitely, he's training well, and Bob's excited about the year. Bob's in no rush until we figure out the calendar and figure out what's going to happen and where it's going to happen.
No, that's the patience gets rewarded. Now he went on from that champion juvenile season to run. He was second in the Rebel, second in the Santa Anita Derby, was fifth in the Kentucky Derby, and the horse finishing ahead of him that day is another horse you are connected with, and that is Improbable. This horse also, I mean, here you by City Zip, and you're out of another AP Indy mare in Rare Event. And the exciting thing about this horse also is it's another stud's pedigree. The second dam stakes winner, Our Rite of Spring, she's a sister to Hard Spun, but more closely related than half because, well, he's by Danzig, who's by Northern Dancer. She's by Stravinsky, by Nureyev, by Northern Dancer. So you must love that you've got that sire's pedigree in there for Improbable.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see AP Indy across a lot of our pedigrees. We're big fans of AP Indy. He brings a lot of brilliance to the families that he's involved in. Improbable, again, just a beautiful horse. He went off favorite in the Kentucky Derby. He's a horse with huge ability. He's a horse that, we scratched him last week at Oaklawn. He ended up in the 14 hole. He'll hopefully get to run in California in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And there's lots of things that could happen with him. We could try him on the grass. It's not impossible. He's got a pedigree that certainly could work. But he's a really nice horse. And, when you think about the justifies that go unbeaten and win 5 Grade 1s, those horses are so hard to find. But these Improbables, and they fight hard. They're good horses. They're really good horses. But it just shows you how hard it is to win these big races.
There's no question. But he went on to win the Share Belief Stakes later, put in a great performance, although not a winning one, but still it was solid in the Penn Derby. He was fifth in the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I just had to say it. And then he, kicked off 2020 with a nice second in the Oaklawn Mile.
Yeah, huge race. Ended up being beaten by an SF bred, Tom's the Attack. So
okay, well then you can live with that, right?
Well, we can, I guess. But he was beaten by a really good horse. He ended up covering the most ground that day and was possibly the best horse on the day. So. Well,
we talk about all these horses, their accomplishments, and the eyes that go into this. There is a team that you lovingly referred to as the Avengers. Yes. And this is a team that, my gosh, it's a who's who. So you've got Captain America being Bob Baffert.
Absolutely. Who else?
Nick Fury is you. You've got Gavin Murphy, who founded SF Bloodstock as Iron Man. Yes. From Starlight, you got Jack Wolf as Thor. I mean, why not, right?
Yes.
And Saul Kuman is Star-Lord. Right. Donato. We all love Donato. He's been a Sharpie for Baffert and sales for many years now as Hawkeye. Doctor Strange for Dr. Horry.
Exactly.
And then I love this too. Henry Field from Newgate is the War Machine. And you've got Frankie Brothers being Vision. And of course, we all love Frank Brothers also from his training career, having trained Pulpit. So, I mean, it's just a great team you have assembled. You go out, you go to the sales, you find the best colts, you pull in, and you're able to secure these horses. And gosh, we're going to talk about some of these 2-year-olds that you have poised to start here in 2020. And these pedigrees are exceptional. We'll start things off by talking about Bezos, who I'm guessing is named for Jeff Bezos of Amazon.
Yeah.
Now, are you hoping? So he, like 8 Rings, is by Empire Maker, and he's out of an AP Indy mare, an AP Mink, and this horse was a $400,000 yearling at Keeneland September. He's got 2 works on the tab at Los Alamitos, including today. Went 36-3. So what do you make of the horse?
Well, I think the opinion is he's definitely one that is in the upper echelon of our colts at this point. He's done nothing wrong. He's a big, long striding colt. He's one of those horses that he seems to do more in 1 stride than most horses can do in 2. And he's just very natural, very focused, and he's getting on with his work. His report card has been good from day one, you know. So he's spent a winter with Eddie Woods, and before he went to Eddie Woods, he went to Atlas Farm. We always turn the horses out for about 30 days after we buy them, just to let them decompress. Yeah. And he's a horse that, you know, you pick him out in the lineup. He's easy, you know. He's got a presence about him, and you know, what's most so important about these colts is that they have a good mind. This horse has a great mind, and he's very adaptable, and he's impressed everyone that's been around him so far.
Well, he's got an exciting pedigree, and he definitely has one that nobody will be questioning whether he can get a distance. Again, by Empire Maker, out of an AP Indy mare. He already has a current Kentucky Derby hopeful in the pedigree in Shotsky, who won the Remsen, was second in the Withers, but he already has also established black type horses like Dinah Slew in there, and his second dam was a stakes winner in Fortune Pending. I mean, it's just a really nice, solid black type pedigree.
Yeah. And an AP Indy mare again. So. Yeah,
exactly. See, I know I've noticed you guys love the line, and it makes sense too. I mean, we're looking at, you know, just the success that we've seen through, unfortunately, Pioneer of the Nile was lost. That whole line, it has been exceptional. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Pioneer of the Nile, sire of American Pharaoh, among others, classic Empire as well. He's missed, but I can see these lines still being pulled through Empire Maker, who we also just lost, who had been repatriated.
Yeah.
Now, another horse that I find that you've got here is Show Power. And this horse is by More Than Ready. And More Than Ready has an illustrious Breeders' Cup resume, even though he didn't run in the Breeders' Cup. This horse holds the record for number of progeny wins in the Breeders' Cup at 7. I mean, he's had More Than Real win the Juvenile Fillies Turf in 2010, the Juvenile Turf in 2010. Regally Ready won the Turf Sprint in 2011. Roy H. was a 2-time winner, winning the Sprint in 2017 and 2018. Rushing Fall, Juvenile Fillies Turf in 2017. And Uni just this past year beat the boys fashionably in the mile. So got that as your sire. Your dam, Jenny's Rocket, is by Mr. Greeley. Mr. Greeley is another really nice horse. And the pedigree here again. I mean, you guys go for, you know, nice black type here. So what do you expect from Show Power? I mean, my gosh, I just looked. The work today, you went 3 furlongs and 35-2.
Yeah. So Pat Masterson named this horse. We sent him all the videos and pictures, and this is the horse that he loves. So he wanted to name him, and he did. And hopefully it's a great name. But he was a little bit like Charlatan last year, you know, whereas we mightn't have always gone for a Spice Town thinking he would go 2 turns. This horse is by More Than Ready. You know, you don't automatically think 2-turn dirt. That's not what comes to mind. But when you see this horse physically, he's the right model. Maybe, you know, like Bob often says, buy me a horse to go a mile, I'll work out the rest. You know? So, like, this horse will he looks fast. He looks precocious. He looks like he could be a very early summer 2-year-old.
Okay.
Whether how far beyond that he goes, who knows? But he's a horse that's definitely catching their attention at the moment. I think he went in 35-2 or something.
Yeah.
So he's interesting. He's forward, and again, he's another Stone Street racehorse.
Yes. And again, Stone Street, that born and bred program, it's bred and raised program. It's amazing, just the horses that they've already had connections to. But as you said, the cultivation of their broodmare band.
Yeah, I think there's no limits to how much effort they put into giving these horses every chance to be all they can be. Like, you drive past that farm, it doesn't matter if it's in the middle of a drought, and it's still green and beautiful. So what they sprinkle on the soil over there, but it really, it's a very, very, very healthy, just beautiful land.
Well, hey, that's great for building those bones, and the muscles, and getting those horses off to a great start nutritionally. Now, another horse we're going to talk about is one that you actually thought, well, we need to add this horse as a talking point to the list. And that is Hozier, named after the singer, I'm guessing. Take Me to Church.
Correct.
This is a son of the aforementioned Pioneer of the Nile, out of a Henny Hughes mare. He was a $625,000 yearling. He worked today as well. He went 3 furlongs in 37-1. And tell us, what attracted you to Hozier?
Hozier was in Saratoga last summer. So we're obviously heavily attracted to the Pioneer of the Nile aspect. We really believed in him. We were major shareholders in him when he died.
Yeah.
We really feel that there's a lot more to come from Pioneer of the Nile. We feel
unfinished business.
This colt was bred to be good. He's out of a good mare. He was bred by Winstar Farm. He was raised the right way. We feel strongly about this horse, and again, he's one of those horses, as Eddie Woods would say, what's not to like. He's a very furnished horse. He's good mind, and he looks very athletic so far.
Well, check out the shoulder all you can see that beautiful photo of Hozier.
Yeah.
Hozier. Oh yeah, does the singer know that he has a horse named after him?
He doesn't, and I'm going to have to make him aware of that. I figured I'd tell him after the fact. I wouldn't ask permission. I would ask for forgiveness.
There you go, right? You can have him perform at the Pegasus World Cup, right?
Exactly.
So you have a horse who I'm sure you want to live up to the name in Classier. He's a $775,000 colt. Again, we've got that Empire Maker line. In this case, he is a son of Empire Maker himself, out of a Bernardini mare, Class Will Tell. This is a very well-established female family that includes Better Lucky, Sarah Gold, Independence Hall, who's currently going on the Derby Trail. You've got Desert Stormer in there, won the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's again a stacked pedigree, and Bernardini himself, being the dam sire here, he's really emerging as a class broodmare sire, already represented by the likes of Serengeti Empress, Catholic Boy, and Maxfield. So tell us about Classier.
He was a one-look. Everybody's thinking I just went. There was no discussion about it. The only answer was to try our best to buy him. And we felt fortunate to be able to land him. He's, again, the Bernardini factor is very positive for sure.
Yeah.
The Empire Maker thing is gold, if you ask me. And, again, he's very straightforward. He's getting out there literally as we speak. They shipped out yesterday. They're underway. So he's a pretty cool horse. We're excited about him.
Well, I should make mention, I think you're affiliated now on the stud side with Always Dreaming, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So Always Dreaming, he himself by Bodemeister by Empire Maker. So
yeah,
I mean, it's such a great line. And for those of you who don't know, Empire Maker himself, son of Unbridled, in addition to being a Derby winner, won the 90 Classic. I mean, it's a great pedigree. You have another Breeders' Cup winner in Classier's pedigree, with the second dam being by Cosine. who won the mile, was champion grass horse. So great pedigree there. Kuro Bo. Here you got a Breeders' Cup champion close up in this horse's pedigree because Kuro Bo, $410,000 yearling by Pioneer of the Nile, and out of the Dixieland Band mare Ragtime Hope, whose name you may remember because she is also the dam of Secret Circle, won the Breeders' Cup Sprint, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint, the Golden Shaheen. Just really fast, talented horse. Tell us about Kuro Bo.
Yeah, look, like you were trading Bob and Donato obviously were very aware of Secret Circle and his physical, and when they seen this horse, they loved him. Henry loved him, and the fact that Stone Street wanted to retain a piece of him was also confidence inspiring. So we're excited about him. He's a medium-sized Pioneer Denial, which would lead you to believe that he could be a more forward 2-year-old. He will go in the next shipment out to Bob. He hasn't left yet. He actually had a little bit of a foot bruise, so he needs an extra week in Florida. But he's a nice colt, and certainly has the pedigree to do anything.
And again, at Eddie Wood's stable, and I think that's fun too. You still have the Irish boy connection, Eddie being from Ireland as well.
Yeah. Look, Eddie is a very integral part of what we do. We trade on information, right? So
yes.
The information we get back is so important, and it leads us to make the best decisions we can for the investors that we invest for.
What a professional outfit too. I mean, just the number of graded stakes winners that have come out from Eddie Wood's training program. And on a personal note, I told you before, I get a kick out of the fact that he also had worked with Tony Everard, who back in the day when my parents had horses in Michigan, Tony was a friend, and it's great to see that. Now let's talk about Mia Comet. How do I pronounce this horse's name? Mia Comet?
Mia Comet is actually a golf course in Saul Cumin named the horse.
Okay.
No, it's a good name, and he's a nice colt. Again, yes. He's going to go out in the next group of horses, but he was a Saratoga horse as well.
$360,000 yearling.
Yeah, and sold by Shaq Parrish, I believe, and he's just moved forward in the right ways, and he didn't look like a horse that needed to be rushed early. He looked like a horse that was going to be more of a late summer horse. So we're just treating him accordingly. There's no point in trying to force him into a hole that they're not ready to go through. So.
Exactly. And he's got an exciting pedigree. We see the AP Indy influence here again. As Mia Comet is by Flatter. The bottom side, his Dam Rebel, is by Hard Spun. And this female family, their dam is Voodoo Lily. So you've got in the mix here, Stage Magic, who is the dam of Justify. So that's you got to love the connection there. Do you have a little bit of a soft spot for this one?
I have a soft spot for all of them.
Right. So it's a great pedigree, and we look forward to seeing what he does. You've got now I need to hear the story about this horse, the behind the scenes story. Money Mike. Money Mike, the son of Into Mischief, first foal for Chocolat by Candy Ride. I'll make a quick note before you tell us that story. Second dam by St. Liam. Won the 2005 Breeders' Cup Classic, was Horse of the Year. He was a $600,000 yearling. Why is he named Money Mike?
He's named Money Mike. We were at Keeneland that afternoon. It might have been the first day of the Keeneland September sale, and Mike Smith was in town, and he came to Baffert and he said, I've never bought a yearling. Bob said, well, let's fix that. So Bob came over and said, hey, do you mind if Mike gets involved here? So in fair, he was great. He stood in there and he was as confident as ever. He was like Mike Smith on Zanyata. He knew when to raise his hand, and he knew he played it very cool, and he landed a horse. So we call him Money Mike.
Well, Money Mike, aptly named, not only for the horse, but for the jockey as well. Mike Smith has the most wins of any jockey in the Breeders' Cup with 26. He has earnings of $36,634,605. So again, a moniker that is well earned. Now, here's the question for you. Will Mike Smith be able to ride Money Mike?
That's going to be up to Mike Smith, isn't it?
I guess so. But
He's going to have to work for the privilege, right?
yeah, exactly, right. Nothing should be taken for granted here.
Bob decides who the riders are, and we'll see down the road. Hopefully, it's a very happy ending for everyone.
Well, he's got the pedigree. Again, buy into mischief out of Grade 2 winner Au Chocolat. But this is the female family of Fundestrada, and it includes a lot of black type winners, and I believe, if I remember, it's also the female family of the aforementioned Cozine. So great pedigree. You've got Rahi Strada in there. Just solid.
If you combine into mischief and Candy Ride, you have a pretty good chance of getting a very hardy, tough, tenacious animal that wants to run. You know, I mean, the combination of those two stallions, the amount of heart that they inject into their progeny is enormous.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this horse be another representative of just that coming up. Now, let's talk about another horse with a Breeders' Cup connection, and that is Seville Road by Quality Road out of Miss Moon by Malibu Moon. Second dam, well, that is Folklore champion, 2-year-old filly of 2005, and a Breeders' Cup champion in the juvenile fillies. She herself by the only horse to have ever won the Breeders' Cup Classic twice, Tis Now. So you must have some expectations of him at a distance.
Yeah, huge expectations. He's beautiful. Again, he's by Quality Road. Quality Road he's probably the new kid on the block. He's the new gold standard of stallions, really, isn't he? This is a very exciting horse, and if we were fortunate enough for him to become a top flight racehorse, you would have unlimited potential as a stallion.
Yeah, well, just the Quality Road put in sensational performances, including that Florida Derby, is very memorable. So the fact that he's having success at stud's exciting as well. But it's a great pedigree, but that's just to be expected with your group here. And you probably got him at a bargain at $385,000 as a yearling.
To this pedigree as well, you know, half sister to his dam has turned out to produce a Grade 1 winner, champion 2-year-old in Japan, has come back and just won a classic and is potentially a Triple Crown horse in Japan. So
Contrail, yes.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. You know, this makes this horse attractive across the globe. So it's great.
Well, speaking of signing tickets, in that case, we got him for $385,000. Here we're coming to a $1 million yearling, and that is Spielberg. I had actually somebody tweet at me today saying they were excited to see a photo of this horse. We're not going to let you down. We're going to show that here in a minute. Son of Union Rags out of the Smart Strike mare, Miss Squeal. This is a solid pedigree through and through. It includes outplay. It includes strong mandate. I mean, you've got just, again, if anybody can just, boom, check that out. Such a heavy pedigree. And for a horse with a name that you're going to have expectations for, I am sure. So tell me about Spielberg.
Oh, yeah. He's in that top 1% of horses you see at a yearling sale. He's not your average physical. He's so superior physically. Seems to have a great mind. Seems to, you know, he's athletically, he just has that beautiful reach and stride and just perfect balance. We certainly did not want to give $1 million for this horse. That was the last thing we wanted to do. But we just found ourselves in a spot, and it's you know, we're very disciplined. We found ourselves where we were left with, if we don't buy him, we have to beat him. And we bid. And hopefully hopefully we get rewarded for being brave. Well,
you're talking about what a beautiful physical he is, but again, he's got a pedigree that makes a sire. That second dam is a half to multiple Grade 1 winner, Clear Mandate, who Clear Mandate then went on herself to produce the aforementioned Strong Mandate, who won the Grade 1 Hopeful, and he himself went on to be third, I believe, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So it's just, and he's doing well at stud himself. So you've got that, you've got Spielberg, but you also have another director in Tarantino. Tarantino, another sort of pioneer in Isle. This was a $610,000 colt. And what's fun here, his dam by Seeking the Gold. And she is a half-sister to Slow Sand, who is the dam of Derby hopeful King Guillermo, who put in a really game second-place performance in the second division of the Arkansas Derby behind Nadal. So you must have been happy to see that.
Yeah, I've seen these pedigree remain current and productive. We at one point actually owned a second dam, a mare called Slowdown. She was a Seattle Slew mare. So, like, you know, you're stacking Seattle Slew on top of Seeking the Gold and Pioneer Denal. You know, you got to love the makeup of this.
Oh yeah.
Again, this horse is bred and raised by Fred Hertrick and John Fielding, who have been incredible breeders, really. And they raised their horses right, and we're excited to buy one from them. He's a really nice colt. Really nice.
Well, again, it's a great pedigree, and you also get a recurrence of El Gran Senor in there, and what a talented horse he was, on top of being a superb sire. So
yeah, was one of the first horses I handled when I came to North America.
Really?
Grand Senor and Stormbird, they were they were aging at the time, but he was such a beautiful horse even at his age. His fertility had always been very suspect, but he was still trying back then, and I looked after him partially in my early years back here.
Oh, well, it's nice then, I guess, for you. You get nostalgic looking at that pedigree.
I have El Gran Senor and Stormbird's head collar downstairs.
Oh, well, that's awesome! Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. We're gonna talk about some other souvenirs you have here in a minute, but let's get to Tenor. Who, by the way, if you love a gray, you're gonna love Tenor. My gosh, what a gorgeous horse! We're gonna pull that photo up right now, I think. Now, this is a son of Curlin. Curlin needs no introduction, right? I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. You're two-time Horse of the Year. You're a Classic winner, and you've gone on to be just a really influential spud, who's been now a sire of sires as well. And then his damn Lyrical Moment, She's My Unbridled Song. He won the Juvenile in 1995, and that was ahead of a 3-year-old campaign in which he also won the Florida Derby. In fact, speaking of Money Mike, I believe he was riding Unbridled Song in that juvenile score. But this is a horse who comes from the female family of 8 bells and belonged to me, and it's just a really, again, deep pedigree. I keep saying that with you, but you guys know what you're looking at. So, of course, you're going to have the best of the book, right?
Well, we're definitely trying to. He's another colt we found at Keeneland. He was a colt that was at Lane's End consignment. At the time, it remains 2 blank downs, but so was Authentic when we purchased him. This horse is, I hate using the word, like, he was very obvious. Like, you know, he's this big, bold, powerful, sturdy gray colt by Curlin.
He looks like he's 3 years old in this photo. Correct.
So he was one of those horses. It's not that you're trying to find a reason not to buy them, but he gave you every reason to try your best to buy him. And we did, look, we hoped we would buy him for less. He's a beautiful horse, and he's had a couple of short breezes with Eddie, and Eddie just said he's ready to go. So he now goes into the hands of Mike Marlowe. He'll stay with Mike for a couple of months until he's ready to get his morning lessons with Bob. Well, like you said, he cost you into those looks. He was an $800,000 yearling, but I look forward to seeing that horse. Curlin he's such a dominant stallion too. Isn't he? So much to love about Curlin, and we probably just haven't. Despite the fact we've had some great fillies and we've had Exaggerator and we've lots of really good so far, I think there's more in his future. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you just mentioned Exaggerator. He is a son of Curlin, now standing at Windstar Farm, and Curlin also, one of his sons in Palace Malice just this past Breeders' Cup. Palace Malice in his first crop, sire's instructor. That's right. So that's exciting there. Now you also have you have Mohawk, who is a race 3-year-old who will be coming back, but you have some really neat unraced 3-year-olds as well, including a horse named King Ashoka,
by a Breeders' Cup champion, 2-year-old champion, and Uncle Mo, and out of the AP Indy Mare, Brilliant Jewel. And this is the female family of another Breeders' Cup champion in shared account who won the filly and mare turf for Grand Motion, and then Grand Motion came back last year and won with her daughter, the juvenile fillies turf, sharing.
Yeah. This horse is, I think this horse has genuine. You can't say brilliance until they run, but he showed us a lot. He's had an injury. He's coming off that injury at the moment. We're probably about 45 days from seeing him back on track, and we're very hopeful he'll make a full recovery. It's Dr. Horse seems to feel he has a high degree of confidence that he'll be back.
You mean Dr. Strange?
Dr. Strange, he is strange. Try figure him out. But he's a beautiful colt to start with, and we do feel he has a lot of talent, and he's certainly worth giving the time and being patient with.
You know, I just got a funny thought in my head. You do realize the Breeders' Cup's fallen on Halloween before. If it does in the future, you already know what y'all have to do.
Finally.
You already know what you all have to do.
For the Breeders' Cup.
Oh my gosh, I'm just imagining the great spandex. I mean, you can get the people who make the silks to do it, right?
I'd love that. Yeah,
we can do it for a good cause. So tell me about, real quick, like Bourbon Trail, Brazen, Cape Cod, and again, the return of Mohawk.
Yeah, Cape Cod, he had a couple of little issues with suspensories. He's been given time. We feel really confident he's over them. He's probably had 5 breezes at Eddie Woods's. He's had his 3rd or 4th breeze at Los Al. Spoke to Mike Marlowe about him today. He feels very confident. The horse is doing great. Wants to do more, but we're just bringing him along. Just let him get there. Again, he's a beautiful Candy Ride colt. Brazen is an interesting colt. We bought him in Saratoga. He may have been the cheapest horse we bought. He was $190 or something like that. But he was a May 4th foal. He was just unfurnished at the time, with a little bit of an obscure pedigree, but he is a go-sapper. You know,
yeah.
He had a mare that was very good, you know, in her own little way, and he's starting to show that he's got some ability. You know, so we should see him within the next 3 or 4 weeks for sure. And you mentioned Bourbon Trail. This is a colt I think he came out of Saratoga for about $250. He's just lightning quick.
Well, female family of Housebuster.
Yeah, this horse is lightning quick. He looked at it as a yearling. He's acting it now, and you mightn't have to wait too long to see him on track.
Okay, well, that's exciting. Now, speaking of horses that you've had success with on track, now off track, we already talked about how you have Justify, who's now stud at Coolmore, but you have still interest in Accelerate, who's over at Lane's End.
Yeah.
And 5-time Grade 1 winning millionaire, and of course that includes the Breeders' Cup Classic. But what a season he put together in his 5-year-old year, huh?
Yeah, that's right. You know, he put together a magic season, and he showed ability before that. But that season just, to me, any horse that can back up races the way he did, you know, as you know yourself, it is a war of attrition. Like, to get through those races and to come out the other end and bounce into the next race, and like, he produced some magical performances, and then to take a show on the road and come here and win like he did, he's a pretty amazing colt, and he's beautiful. You know, David Ingordo bought him as a yearling. Ingordo buys good-looking horses.
Oh, one of the best eyes in the biz.
Yeah, he was right about this horse, and you know, his folds are tremendous.
And you posted, check it. You can go to @TomRyan KY for Kentucky. Go to his Twitter feed, and you will see such a beautiful colt by Accelerate.
Yeah, gorgeous colt out of Pooland. But we have several. You know, when we get behind these horses, we get behind them in a meaningful way. You know, and we felt in a lot of ways, for $20,000, Accelerate was half price. So we felt the best arbitrage to that was to breed more mares to him and to take the value out of it. So we felt he was really a value play, and he was heavily supported. I think he covered 165 mares in his first year, so he's been given every chance to become a good young stallion, and hopefully with that star line, I think looking at Lucky he's definitely seen as a positive influence. And this goes out of the Awesome Again mare, I think, wasn't he? So
yes,
lots of things to like.
1998's Breeders' Cup Classic champion, Awesome Again, and who I believe is still the only sire to sire a Breeders' Cup Classic champion in Ghost Zapper. I think he's still the only father-son duo. Not 100% sure. But yeah, what a resume. I mean, in addition to winning the Breeders' Cup Classic, he won the Awesome Again, the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, the Santa Anita Handicap, the Pacific Classic Stakes. This horse won $6,692,480. I call that solid champion. What's not to like? And then another horse that you have interest over there at Lane's End is Catalina Cruiser, another horse that I believe was picked out by David and Gordo.
Yeah, same ownership group. Again, Union Rags Colt. He was one of those horses that didn't win his Grade 1, but there's no question in my mind he had absolute Grade 1 quality. Sometimes we kind of get lost in the Grade 1 situation. Like there's a lot of very, very good Grade 2 winners that have become very, very.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think you have to rate a horse based on his best performance, and I think his best performance, maybe it might have been, was it the Woody Stevens or one of those races? He won by 6 or 7 lengths. Like it was a true Grade 1 performance, and we love him. We're breeding 15 or 16 mares to him this year, and we love to play. Just love.
Well, I mean, it's really exciting when you have a horse by Union Rags who won the Belmont Stakes, and then you're out of a Mineshaft mare, Horse of the Year Mineshaft of 2003, but he can come out and he won the True North in record time.
Yeah.
And so just to have that duality there, and not only that, but he also has in that female family one of my favorite influences, and that's Mount Livermore.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I love it. So again, at Lane's End. Now another horse, and I'm super, 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 super stoked about this one. I was talking to Elliot Walden, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about Uchida. I love Uchida. This horse, even though he didn't get that Breeders' Cup Classic placing this past go around, when I saw him in the barn ahead of it, dear goodness, this horse just oozes class and personality. He's a son of Heart's Cry. Heart's Cry is a sensational horse who was celebrated as a racehorse in Japan and now celebrated as a sire himself and a son of Sunday Silence. And then Uchida is out of Hilda's Passion, who you want to talk about fast. She was fast, won the Ballerina. I think she set a record winning the Inside Information. But this horse is a dual Grade 1 winner in that he won the Woodward on dirt and then flipped it around and won a Grade 1 on turf. So just the versatility he's going to offer. And again, bringing in the Halo line, but through Sunday Silence.
Yeah, it was interesting. We went to Japan stage on. We had a couple of missions in mind. One of the missions was to try secure Empire Maker, which we were unfortunately beaten to the punch there by Gainesway. But we had a notion to buy some Deep Impact and bring them back and what have you. And we found out very quickly buying a nice Deep Impact in Japan is effectively impossible because they were enormously expensive at the time and they weren't that readily available. But we worked the sale whilst we were there. And in fairness to Elliot, this colt just captured his imagination. And I remember we went to the ring talking about we'd give 500,000 or 600,000 for him, and the bidding board comes up and it's in yen. And
oh no!
What have we done? But anyway, it definitely had a happy ending. He's a very good horse, and people often talk about diversifying the gene pool. Well, here's an opportunity right here.
Absolutely, yes.
I looked today at the bookings, and he's tipping out at 160 mares at the moment, and
wow.
He's well supported. He's very fertile, and there's a good group. There's a good base core ownership group in the horse with China Horse Club ourselves, Winstar. So he's going to be given every chance to be a successful young horse.
Well, I love that, because you also are harkening back to bringing lines together in, as you just said, a diversified way. Because I think a lot of people, we don't see enough, I feel like, the Halo line sires. I mean, More Than Ready is one of those horses, obviously, being by Southern Halo. But now getting it through Sunday Silence again, Halo himself is out of a half sister to Natalma, the Dam of Northern Dancer. So it's all that nice line of the Alma Mood and Mother Goose coming back, and now through again this line specifically through Sunday Silence. What a story that was with Sunday Silence. This was a horse they tried to sell. Oh, I'm losing my computer. I'm so excited. I knocked my computer over. Okay, but this was a horse. He RNA'd at $17,000 as a yearling, and then basically they had to buy him back $32,000 as a 2-year-old. Run him yourself, and put together this great group. Who, my gosh, was that rewarded? Charlie Whittingham. I mean, this is epic. Epic. This is a horse who went on to win 9 of 14 starts, 5 seconds, and just under $5 million. Won the Kentucky Derby, put in one of the most prettiest, best showdown duels with Easy Goer in the Preakness Stakes. My gosh, it's like my favorite head-and-head photo finish race that I've ever watched. And then, yeah, you don't get the Triple Crown, but you came back and you got your revenge winning the Breeders' Cup Classic in 1989. Now, you actually got to hang out with Sunday Silence, but before we show that, we're going to show Sunday winning the Breeders' Cup Classic here. Did you watch this race live?
Racing for the oncoming
I
of Easy Goer,
did
who's
not.
right at his neck, and the stage is set with 3 furlongs to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Flushing John taking the lead, 3/8 of a mile out. It's Flushing John in front. Sunday Silence on the outside, gearing
What
up
a
now.
run here.
Easy Goer 2.5 lengths behind. They're coming to the top of the
He's
stretch.
just such a tenacious
Flushing
horse.
John is under a hand ride. He leads by length.
I mean, and after the Champagne he had that year too, it's unbelievable.
On the outside.
Yeah,
Easy Goer is set down and he's
just
put to a
like,
fierce drive.
you know, again, he was
To
that
the
lovely
full
streamlined,
furlong.
kind of long, lean, muscle horse.
To the front.
Yes.
Flushing John
Got over the ground so perfect. Like,
Easy Goer
he bounced out of the ground.
final
You know, he's just amazing.
and Sunday Silence holds on and he wins by a
What an amazing coup for the Japanese to have done what they did right there.
I know.
Just
Well, Yoshida is named for
yes, absolutely.
Mr. Yoshida.
That's right.
Who was connected to Sunday Silence. Now, you actually got to, when you were jet setting around the world again, you were at Sade when he was there, and I am so jealous. I mean, granted, he had a reputation for, like Halo, his sire, for having a bit of a,
Yeah, no, he was particularly mean, but he was a very busy boy. I mean, when that year that I was there, he would have covered 200 and
oh my gosh,
plus mares, and some of the best mares in the world at the time. You know, the Japanese have been very clever and smart about selecting their bloodstock and supporting their stallions. And I remember back then breeding Northern Dancer mares to Sunday Silence at the time. You know, I was completely starstruck by the whole. Like I might have been 22 or 3 years old back then, and it was quite amazing. You know, the Ushidas, I think they had 45 stallions in the barn that time.
Oh wow!
45 stallions in the barn, and you know, once a week you would get up. It would be your turn to do the early feed. So you get up at 3:30 in the morning and you start feeding them. So you'd be finished by 6 a.m. to start covering, and the cycle would non-stop. It was an amazing place to work, great people, and to have laid hands on a horse like Sunday Silence is quite the honor, really.
Oh gosh, like I said, jealous, and also happy that you emerged unscathed from Sunday Silence. But you did not have so much luck when you worked with Woodman. I would be remiss if we did not tell this story again. Why are you nicknamed Tom Thumb?
Yes, Woodman was a great friend of mine. He was he's a wonderful stallion. When I was working with him back then, that was 1999, 2000. And Unfortunately, Woodman got out the wrong side of the bed one morning, and it wasn't necessarily in his nature. He had been quite sick leading up to it. There was events that led to this mishap, I would, choose to call it. But he decided that I was going to be his ragdoll that day, and he decided he'd start with my right hand. So he picked up my right thumb and threw me to the ceiling, and off it came. But fortunately, all the tendons stayed together, and they put it back on, and the thumb worked perfectly. So.
Oh my goodness!
It's interesting. At the time, I seen myself working in the stallion business, and I was very excited about it, and the opportunities that it might lead to, and it closed that door, and I ended up working part-time in the office at Coolmore. They were kind enough to give me a job, and I think at some point they needed more stuff for me to do, maybe to keep them out of their way. So I was sent off with Demi O'Byrne at the time. Demi used to come that time every 2 or 3 months to look at all the Danzigs, Mr. Prospectors, all of those high dollar, high caliber horses. And it was my job to bring them around to all the farms to see them all. So I, somewhat by accident, I ended up getting a schooling from one of the best judges in the game. And I really learned back then with Demi, rather than looking for the bad in something, to look for the good. And it was a great lesson,
Oh my gosh. And just like you said, to think if Woodman hadn't taken that thumb, yeah, who knows what the career path would have not to be gross or anything, but was it fully detached? Did you
Yeah, the ligaments stayed together.
Okay, so you didn't have to have someone find it.
No, we wrapped it up in vet wrap and got there, and it all worked out great. It seemed like the end of the world at the time, but it really has it shaped the rest of my career. So.
Well, if it's not already taken at some point down the line, maybe I know you like one-word names, but maybe somewhere along the line you should have a horse named Rule of Thumb.
Rule of Thumb, I like it.
just thinking out loud here, but in any case,
I'm not great with 2 H's, so.
You always have to think about what will look good on a trophy. But I really, honestly, I've had so much fun. And I told you before the show, I get so nervous when I talk to guests like you, not because you make me on edge, but because you want to do justice to the names you're reading out in these pedigrees. You have an embarrassment of riches. I'm so happy, though, for somebody like you and your team who put so much back. I mean, I would be another thing I'd be remiss not to mention is that when Charlatan won the Arkansas Derby, you all put 10% of the winnings to new vocations. Yeah. So you give back.
We feel very strongly about aftercare. Katie, my wife, sits on the board at New Vocations, and I think they do an incredible job over there. And we see the work and the hours they put in, and I think last month they might have rehomed 60 horses.
Wow.
This is money. We know exactly where it's being funneled to, and we know exactly the care and attention they're giving these horses. So it's, everybody should feel a responsibility towards aftercare, and we're just trying to set an example.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for being ambassadors. Thank you for showing us what quality is and what we can look forward to later on in the year. And real quick, how are you handling the quarantine? What is your one guilty pleasure that you indulge in right now?
I go running every day, and I love it.
That's not guilty. That's healthy. Come on, I'm eating cakes and cookies over here.
Guilty pleasure. I probably the chocolate I eat every evening.
Okay, all right. Chocolate, we're in sync there on the chocolate. Okay, well, Tom, again, thank you so much. We have so much to look forward to, and best to all you and the Avengers crew.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
All right, well, this has been your Future Stars Friday forecast. I'm Ren Carothers. Was Tom Ryan, my special guest for today. I hope you had fun. Make note of these names. These are horses that you're going to want to play as they start to make their debut. Put them in your stable mail. And I will see you here next Friday for your Future Stars Friday forecast.